We lost one of the best. My friend Guyle, after a long battle with cancer, passed away Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. He was one of the best. And I don't think enough people knew that, so I'm going to make sure everyone knows that. And I want to be clear. I'm not here to tell Guyle's story. It's not mine to tell. But I am going to tell the story of my time with Guyle and how I knew him. I first met him in the fall of 2006 at a seminar where we were both a bit fish out of water. He was just coming back to karate after a long hiatus, and I had recently changed who I was training with. I found out later from other people that Guyle was one of the original students in Texas of Ryukyu Kempo. Everything about his karate was solid and strong, but his attitude was warm and welcoming. And that's how I first met him. That's just the kind of guy he was. You could tell, even though he thought he was behind in training for over a decade, he didn't miss a beat. He was strong and tall without being intimidating or obnoxious. The moment he smiled at you, he put you at ease both as a person and a training partner. No one could ask for a better senpai. He never shouted, he never tried to be imposing towards others. He just had a very even tone with his Texas draw, and he knew how to talk to you and get a point across without making you feel belittled. Almost 30 years my senior, he still acted humble and deferential to me. And all the time, every class, every seminar, every message we ever exchanged, he never once talked down to me. That's just the kind of guy he was. He was dedicated to those around him. It didn't matter if he knew you for 30 years or 30 seconds. He always welcomed you with open arms. And those were strong arms. He worked hard in his career, with his family life, and his dedication to building a karate community. I was only at his school in Texas one time, but the moment you walked in the door, you could tell he put everything into that place. From his students, to the actual construction of the building, from the hospitality he showed strangers, to the love he showed his friends and family. That school was a testament to his skill, dedication, and love. He was a strong part of every community he was in, without needing to have his opinion or his ideas be the first things heard. He said his piece when needed, but he was always happy to listen. He never felt threatened by other people's words or ideas. That's just the kind of guy he was. And we couldn't have been from two more different worlds, with completely different backgrounds and some might say completely different values. But I never believed that last part, and I don't think he ever did either. We didn't always see eye to eye on everything, and had conversations about our differences of beliefs. Despite that, he never was bitter about it. He never let that stop us from being friends. He never hated me or anyone for that. He could disagree with you gently, still give you a hug, and then put you on the ground in an armbar all the same. He was never shy about hearing different ideas or trying new things. He was a well of knowledge and wisdom, but he never used that against anyone. He could talk to you gently, humbly give you a suggestion, and put you on your way. Above all else, he was never discouraging. There were things he didn't like, and didn't seem to be one for too much nonsense when it wasn't called for. But he never put anyone down. He always encouraged you. He always wanted to see the best in people. He always wanted the best for people. That's just the kind of guy he was. One time springs to mind when he was putting a large group of students up for black belt testing. He very casually asked me to look over his students' kata and run them through their paces before testing. A man who was close to 30 years my senior, not only in age but also in karate, a guy who was more knowledgeable and skilled than I could ever hope to be, asked me, very casually and humbly, to look over his testing group. At the time, I didn't appreciate what kind of gesture this was. It really showed the faith he had in me, the faith he had in people, the faith he had in his students. I will say they were probably the most impressive group in that test, and I'm glad most, if not all of that group are still training today. He set that example for people to follow. He never wanted people to be like him or put himself up on a pedestal. He wanted the best for everyone. That was just the kind of guy he was. The last time I actually saw Guyle was in Okinawa. It was an interesting trip, to say the least, and it had been met with its share of fun and foibles. I wasn't at my best, and I can admit that. But Guyle, his son, and students with him were very much at their best. And, as you can expect, he was the most encouraging through the rough parts of that trip and the best part of the great parts of that trip. He was fine with being completely out of his element, rolled with the things he didn't understand, and was as friendly as ever, even with language barriers and cultural differences. And, with a great sense of humor, even pointed out how I was too young to be making Columbo references. Him and his were the best part of that trip, and I'll never forget that. Over a year later, a lot of things changed. I had moved on from some things, and he had just been diagnosed. I didn't even know if I should have reached out to him. I wasn't sure how much time he had left. I didn't think I was worth his time. Against all that, I gave him a call. And he picked up the phone right away. I could tell he was having trouble talking, taking long pauses with labored breathing, but he was happy to talk to me. I kept on trying to get him to talk about himself. I wanted to know what was going on with him, how his students were, how his family was, whether he still thought I was too young for Columbo references. But he didn't want to talk about himself. He just wanted to hear about how I was doing. He wanted to know what my plans were, where I was in life, what I wanted to do, what I thought. It's just the kind of guy he was. The kind of guy to open his heart to you, to open his home to you, to open his school to you. The kind of guy to teach you. The kind of guy to encourage you no matter what. The kind of guy to whoop you one minute and make you laugh the next. The kind of guy who would have his hand on your shoulder after you got your ass kicked in Kumite and then teach you how to get back in there. The kind of guy who was the gentle, humble, strong example of a human being most don't get to see in this world. The best kind of guy. One of the best. And we lost one of the best. But the great thing is, he left behind one of the best legacies. With his school, his students, his community, his friends, and his family, we all had the best example, and I know he would want us to be at our best. Thank you, my friend. Rest in peace.